Welcome, everybody. Happy Friday.
Happy
Happy Friday,
Friday.
Dakota.
It's good to see you, Caleb. It's good to be back. How are you doing today?
I'm good. A little out of breath. Definitely not because we were dancing behind screen while the song intro was playing.
Definitely not. And if we were, it would be very wholesome and very reserved dances as well.
Absolutely, 100%.
How's
Welcome.
everybody else doing? How's all of our viewers doing? How are y'all?
Do you guys enjoy and dance to the intro music as much as me and Dakota probably do?
It was a good find, that one,
Yeah, it's starting to get burned in my brain.
Yeah.
I like it. Well, welcome, everybody.
After the fact, especially on YouTube, let us know in the comments how you feel about the song. If you have any suggestions for other things we should have.
Yeah, please. Any suggestions? Welcome to those who are on Facebook, to those who are on YouTube, and to those who might come across this stream later. We are live, so this is an opportunity. This is one of our favorite topics that we do, which is just a Q&A with you guys. I know it's not at the end of the month. We're kind of switching it up. So, excuse me.
It's been a busy month. We've had some very urgent topics to get to, and also having a schedule around other people's availability as well.
That's right. Yes. So we've had a lot going on for sure. Events going on. I think there's another resource fair coming up, right, Dakota?
Oh, is there? I mean, we just did one, or we did a resource fair in San Bernardino and a seminar, and neither of us were there, but Nicole was there. She'll be on live an hour from now, and so if there's another one coming up, I mean, it's that season. It's summertime. Everybody's out getting getting stuff. Kids are out of school. It's
That's right.
Busy time of the year.
Oh, yes. Happy summertime. We already have a question for Miss Alyssa. Welcome back. You have been here quite a lot, Miss Alyssa. We're glad that you're here. How long should it take for your regional center worker to return your calls? That's a great question. So, I mean, in my experience in Dakota, you could share yours. A lot of the regional centers operate a little differently. So the ones that are maybe at max capacity, where they're overloaded, overwhelmed, underemployed, I guess you could say, it may take some time. It shouldn't be months and months and months that you don't hear from your caseworker. That's normal if you're not a client of the regional center and you're trying to get in. But once you become a client of the regional center, you should have somewhat of a smooth communication process with your caseworker. Now, if you can't get a hold of your caseworker and it's been a month, maybe it's been 6 weeks, however long, just call your regional center, ask to speak with a supervisor, try and shake some trees a little bit. There's nothing wrong with following up a little bit here and there. Get some email communicate, like some emails you can write to. That way you have a written record of like, hey, I sent you an email a month ago. I haven't heard anything, right? Sometimes they really do get overwhelmed. Sometimes they are just missing their notes to call you back. So there is no like actual timeline to my understanding of how quickly they need to get back to you. Dakota, are you aware of any like actual timeline?
I'm not really at all, but I will reiterate what you said, which is it very much will probably depend on which regional center. If you're in the LA or Orange County area, they're probably super booked, right? With tons of clients that all need help and tons of resources that are trying to coordinate and work with. If you're somewhere up north, somewhere less populated, then maybe they'll have an easier time working with you. Yeah, I don't really know what their typical. I mean, I have a lot of clients who when they want to reach out their regional center caseworker for the IPP, the CEDAR, or some other information, doesn't usually take more than a couple days. I mean, I think a lot of my clients can get with them pretty quick like that.
It's really hit or miss. I have the same experience. Some of the clients that I work with, it's really quick. Others, not so much, right? So I think it really does depend on your regional center. Alyssa, let us know what regional center you're working with if you don't mind sharing. And so, yes, by the way, everybody, this is our Q&A, like I said before. Let me get that back up here. So it means ask your questions. This is for you. So any question, any topic that you want to go over today, we'll do our best to try and address as many of you as we can, if not all of you, in the comment section. But it can be IHSS related, regional center related, like Alyssa's question, IEP related. We're also going to maybe talk a little bit about the budget stuff going on in California. Dakota might want to share some updates that here in just a moment. But yeah, take a moment to like the stream, share it if you can, tag some support groups. It's great bringing in as many people as we can in the special needs community so that we can all kind of work off of each other's knowledge and learn from each other. Oh, Teresa said that there's nothing on the books as far as booth events right now, but maybe we should do a Zoominar. Is anybody interested? Or do you have a support group, a school that you're a part of, a church, day program, or a county that you're in where there might be a group of families who want to do like a Zoominar with us, where we can just talk about all these things with you a little bit more intimately? Let us know. Let us know if you want us to do that.
I'll also say, we don't always get informed about booth events. We don't know about all the booth events that are going on. So if you have one in your area and you think it would be a good fit for us, that we could come out and share information and meet people and sort of spread the message to special needs community, send us a DM on Facebook, send us a message. Teresa is our event planner person. So you can let her know. I mean, of course, it's the kind of thing we need to know a few months in advance to be able to get signed up with them and get all of our resources together and get a team together to go. But yeah, if you are a planner yourself, or if you know about events going on that we could be a part of, send us a message. Let us know the details.
I second that. Thank you, Dakota. And Alyssa, you said you're in Kern County. Gotcha. I forget the regional center there. Is that San Andreas Regional? No, San Andreas is like Monterey area, I think. I forget the name of your regional center, Alyssa, but we'll look into that one. I'm gonna see if there's other families who are experiencing similar delays. Jessica said, must be nice. I think she's referring to having a caseworker that responds so promptly. Patricia, in Ventura County, you can now text your worker and they usually get back to you. I'm not sure if this is in all counties. No. However, the first time I experienced this was, I want to say it was Butte County up north. It was either Butte or, yeah, I think it was Butte County. I was working with a family and I needed to connect with the county, and I called and they didn't pick up. And so and so as I was about to call again or try and find a new number, I got a text message from that number. And it was like, I can't even remember what it said, but it was it was literally from the clerk's office. It was an IHSS clerk worker in the office. It wasn't a social worker. Somebody literally at the office texted me and said, sorry, Mr. Call, let's connect. And I called back and they were like, oh yeah, we can actually text people who call in now. And I was blown away. I'm like, man, imagine that. That is, oh, I'm frozen on my end. Can you hear me, Dakota?
Yeah, I can hear you just fine.
Okay, I think it's my internet. I'm a little frozen. I'm not sure if it's the stream or not, but do you see it spinning right now?
No, you look all right.
Okay.
I mean, you might disappear in a moment, but for now, you keep on doing your thing.
All right. But yes, Patricia, I have heard. Oh, okay. I'm back on my end, so I think we're good. I have heard that, Patricia. I don't know what other counties are offering that, but it is something that hopefully maybe they can turn to. Okay, a couple more questions. Each, is it possible to get tutoring reimbursement from the district due to lack of teaching your child as stated on their IEP for 2 years? Well, Dakota?
Well, I think this would, if I recall from our seminars that I've heard, I feel like Myra would describe this as compensation, where if they are failing to meet their goals due to a lack of, the school isn't doing enough, whatever services they're offering aren't sufficient to allow your child to meet the goals that have been set in your IEP, then they have to do what's called compensation. And I think that involves taking extra measures, extra steps to ensure those goals are met the next time around. So it seems like tutoring reimbursement, I think that does fall into that category. I'm not all up in all the IEP knowledge, but I feel like I've heard Myra talk about that at the seminars in the past. What would you think?
Yeah, to my understanding, I would say it is the similar. Or I'm sorry, not similar, but my answer would have been similar. Would have been about not reimbursement, compensation rather. Yes, when the school is not accommodating, especially if it's stated in their IEP, like you said, then that means that they're out of compliance with the IEP. So the school has to be held accountable for that. So you might be on the verge of compensation. Now, when we say compensation, like Dakota said, that's not always money per se. That usually is in form of additional resources, making up for lost time, right?
But it could be
So
if you've been supplementing their education with tutoring and you've already been paying out of pocket, then maybe they would pay you back for that, possibly.
that is true. That actually is very true. Yes. All right. Let's see here. Great question, Nish. Thanks for being here. Sylvia, when a child turns 18 and they live with their parents, how does this affect their eligibility and hours with IHSS?
I'll take this one.
Yeah.
So there are a few things that change. One is just in terms of eligibility. When they turn 18, Medi-Cal could have, differences. Like if they, in most cases, this would actually make it easier to keep IHSS. That if you needed to be on, if they need to be on the waiver in order for your income to be excluded, once they're 18, that's no longer an issue. If it was including your income for them to get Medi-Cal once they're 18, then they're separate on that. And so whatever money you have set aside won't affect their eligibility for IHSS. Those are some things that could change as far as eligibility. As far as their hours, most categories don't change. They should be, like every category for personal care and related services should now be available to them. And the one that absolutely gets added at 18 is domestic housekeeping, yard abatement, hazard, and some of those categories. The domestic housekeeping categories will never be approved for anyone under 18. But once they turn 18, you can get time for that.
Sorry, did you say they will never be approved for somebody under 18?
Domestic housekeeping is the one category that
Okay.
by regulation you cannot get until you are 18.
Gotcha.
Every other category you technically can, though it might be a little more difficult, but that's the one that absolutely is now available to you once you turn 18.
Yep.
Yeah.
I hear that. Thank you, Dakota, for responding to Miss Sylvia. Thank you, Miss Sylvia, for a fantastic question. Keep them coming, everybody. Any question that comes to your mind, whether it be IHSS related, regional center related, we want to try and get to it as best we can. And again, share the stream, like it, love it. That always helps us put this information out there so we can bring more people in. Christina, hello. I applied for IHSS for my nonverbal son who just turned 18. He was only given 47 hours monthly and no protective supervision. How is protective supervision determined? Again, my son is nonverbal. Thank you so much. Dakota, do you want to maybe briefly explain like the criteria? What is protective supervision to those who are maybe wanting to learn more about it?
Okay. So the main questions that the social worker will look at when determining protective supervision is, one, does the person have a mental impairment? Now, you mentioned nonverbal. If it's that could be autism, maybe Down syndrome, or some combination, that meets the criteria of mental impairment. Number two is that they have to be non-self-directed, and this means that they have an inability to understand and recognize danger and make unsafe and inappropriate decisions in regards to danger. So they're likely to do things that put them in harm's way. Number three is that they have to actually be likely to do things that are dangerous, and they have to be physically able to do things that are dangerous. And then the last one, number four, is that they must require 24-hour supervision in order to remain safe. So in a case like yours, the mental impairment is most likely there. The non-self-direction, you have to ask yourself, like, does he understand danger? And if the answer is no, he doesn't understand danger, he cannot make safe decisions, then you're good on that. Next one is, does he have a history of doing things that are unsafe? The answer is yes. Okay, good. You meet number three. The last one about 24-hour supervision. This is mostly going to come down to, are the behaviors frequent, the unsafe behaviors? Are they frequent and are they unpredictable? Because the frequency, if it's only once a month or a few times a year that anything unsafe really happens, that's hardly, I might put myself in danger that often just from, normal life, right? So it has to be somewhat frequent. And the second part, it has to be unpredictable. Even if it happens every single day, something dangerous happens every single day. If it only happens at 2:30, or it only happens at dinner time, or it only happens while taking a shower, then that's predictable. It's not a 24-hour need. So those are that's sort of the rundown of the main things they're looking at. Mental impairment, non-self-direction, likelihood to engage in dangerous behaviors, and is it a constant 24-hour need?
Yes, thank you, Dakota, for breaking that down. And I did pin here at the on the screen here ACL 15-25. So if you want to look at where Dakota got that information, the actual criteria can be found in the rules and regulations for IHSS. And so there are these ACLs that get posted. They're kind of like newsletters in a sense that sort of reiterate regulations, introducing new ones, changing old ones, whatever the case may be. But if you look up ACL 1525, it'll reiterate the things that Dakota just shared. So thank you, Dakota. Christina, thank you again for your comment here. We hope that you can kind of get some closure there to determine if you feel like your son does qualify according to that criteria. And if he does, and you want some help, give our office a call. We'd love to try and give you as much advice, guidance, and support as we possibly can. Jessica, what is the process for changing RC and self-determination? What is the process to changing RC and self-determination? Are you asking, like, what is the process to go from like traditional regional center and then get access to the self-determination program? Is that what you're asking? Let us know. Unless Dakota, do you have thoughts on that?
I know. I kind of was wondering too about what exactly was the question. So you give some clarification on what exactly you're wondering about.
Yeah, and Jessica, if you are asking how to transition to self-determination, so again, that's just that is still a part of regional center. It doesn't mean you're changing your regional center status per se. It's more of just changing how they fund the services that regional, or not fund it, but I guess fund the type of services. I guess it does change how it's funded too. But if you want to learn about self-determination, transition to it, all you got to do is reach out to your caseworker and let them know that you'd like to enroll for that. And then you have to sort of apply, to my understanding, but your caseworker should be able to do that for you if and when you hear back from them. Stella, hello to you. Happy Friday. Stella, again, I got an email stating a raise for Ventura County in July. Will every county get a raise, even if it varies? It'd be great. Just curious. So Dakota, I think you might have some more experience with the raises. You made a video with Nicole several months.
Raise, yeah.
Yeah. Do you know much about how that works? Like how they determine raises or how often they usually come about?
I mean, I think they're usually once a year, but and Teresa might remember better than I do. I thought it was usually at the beginning of the year, like around January when these things came out. But I don't know if this is related to the budget proposal, if that's where the change is happening. I can't quite remember how long ago it was that we did that last video about all the different counties getting their raises. Usually every county will at least get the 25-cent or 50-cent increase that sort of happens every year. But yeah, I kind of thought that would be happening later on. But hey, if I've not heard anything about it, but if it is going to happen to every county, we'll probably do another video about it this sometime soon.
Yeah, we'll look into that for sure. Thank you, Estella. Jessica said no, and then she said changing regional center. We are already on self-determination. Okay, so you're wanting to change regional centers. So real quick, there are 22, to my understanding, regional centers here in California. And I believe you have to be assigned to the regional center that caters to your zip code. I could be wrong, but to my understanding, that's how it works. So I don't believe you can just kind of pick the regional center that you want. I think it's dependent on where you live. Dakota, is that how you understand that as well?
Well, yeah, I mean, that part of it, that it's based on where you live, that determines which regional center you're in. I think that's true, yeah.
Okay, because I know that there are counties like LA, for example, where they have like 6 or 7, 8 regional centers. I think San Diego has a couple, Riverside has, I think, a couple, and then San Bernardino has, I think, 3 or 4. And then kind of like the rest of the counties in California usually have 1, maybe 2. So I don't know if it's per county, but it's more per region. Like
I think far northern covers several counties.
That was exactly my point. Yes, because in Northern California, I'm sorry, in the Bay Area, we have Golden Gate. We have one down south in like the San Jose, Monterey area. I think there's 2 down there. And then we have one for East Bay. We have East Bay Regional Center. Then we have North Bay Regional Center. Then we have the Napa Regional Center. These are all within like an hour drive of each other. So they all kind of go like this around these neighboring counties. Yeah, so as far for Jessica, for you, it is going to depend on where you live, to my understanding. So I don't believe you could just change it. But if you wanted to look into that yourself or call them to see if that's possible, you most certainly can. Dakota, talk about the budget.
Okay.
What's some good news for us?
Teresa really wants us to talk about this because some of you might have seen she posted a couple of videos about what's sort of the situation right now. And
sorry, and before you do, Dakota, before you jump into that, everybody, we will be now discussing a quick change, some updates on the recent budget. This is an opportunity, again, share the stream, tag a friend. For those who are very interested in this, we get calls weekly, daily about this. So if you know somebody who wants to learn a little bit more about what's going on right now, this is the time. So tag them, share this with a friend. Dakota, take it away.
Okay. So basically the situation right now, some people might have seen some clips that we posted. From my understanding, the government, the Senate and the Assembly have come up with their counter proposal to the one we were talking about some weeks ago. The things that they are going with, the things that they're rejecting, the things they're modifying, and all that. And they've decided on it and have sent it back to be approved. And at this point, it's just a matter of if the governor is going to approve their response or veto it. And then, if that happens, there'll be more discussion. But the main takeaways for us related to IHSS and special needs, the really big ones are that for IHSS, they said they do not want to cap providers at 50 hours a week, which is great because that was going to be so disastrous for so many people. So they do not want to go for that. For Medi-Cal, the asset limit, rather than the $2,000 asset limit that was being proposed, they want instead put it to the $130,000 limit.
Bring it up.
Last year. So this can be a lot easier for people to stay within. They are going to keep the freeze on Medi-Cal enrollment for people of certain immigration statuses, but not remove those people from any programs. So I think those are the main takeaways for the counter proposal. And again, this still has to be approved by the governor, but it's definitely a step in the right direction. And I think they're pretty, especially regarding the 50-hour a week overtime, they seem pretty committed to not going forward with that one because it's very well, I think they heard our voices, right? They heard everyone's voice that this is not good for parents, it's not good for the state, it's not good for recipients, it's not good for anybody. So yeah, I think that one in particular is going to be shot down, and it's a good thing that they're not going to cap the provider hours like that. So that's sort of the update. They're supposed to have it finalized by Sunday or by the end of the day on Sunday. So we'll have to wait and see. If it doesn't, then whatever the government does, they probably have to take a pay cut or something. I don't know. But they're supposed to have it finalized by Sunday. If the governor vetoes it, I would expect it'll take longer.
Thank you, Dakota, for sharing that. That is a big celebration. I know nothing is set in stone. However, that is fantastic news to hear. And if you haven't already, this petition is still going around. We are currently at 2,032 signatures for the petition that we linked to you guys a couple of weeks ago. So if you are still interested in signing that, you can. It's still out there. And there's over 2,000 signatures, which is bonkers. That is awesome. Okay, Dakota, any last thoughts on that before we jump into some more questions?
Nothing else that I want to share, but if anyone has more specific questions about that specifically, we can get back into it.
Sure. All right. Estella says, thank you. Jessica says, I understand that. I don't think we're understanding Jessica's question because she did make another point.
I saw her clarify. I think she said she already moved. I think she's just wondering, how do you inform the regional center about it? Like, who do you talk to?
We missed that part, Jessica. Sorry. I don't know if you mentioned that in your earlier comments, but yes, all you do is you have to just notify your old regional center that you have moved, and they can take care of that transfer for you. If they haven't done that, then you can call the new regional center and let them know that, hey, my old regional center, I notified them, they haven't transferred things yet, and they'll take care of it. So they can do that for you. Now, you may not know what your new regional center is. That could be a problem, especially if you're in a county with a bunch of them. Teresa did clarify, actually. Teresa said, oh, wait, no, I'm sorry. That was for the pay raises. So real quick about the pay raises, standard once per year county, and then each county may get raises depending on their union. The unions work to get appropriated raises mid-year as they can. They are not necessarily each for all counties. Okay, cool.
Okay, so I think it is the beginning of the year where the standard across the board raises happen, and then that particular county getting a raise is probably due to union negotiations.
Dakota, I love Jeanette's question. Are you ready for it?
Sure.
What's the subject of today? You're the subject of today, Jeanette. Any question you want to ask, we're going to try and answer it. So, yep. Q&A.
Anything you want. I mean, it has to be special needs related. It should be, at least.
Does it? Does it?
I mean, you can ask us how our day is going. That's good too.
All right. Laura Mancini, what's up, Laura? How can I live in a provider? How can a live-in provider claim any sick hours? That's you, Dakota.
Well, I guess so. I mean, I think I'll answer it two different ways. One is, oh, actually, I don't entirely know, but I think there's a pretty simple way of like fill out some kind of form that says that you're sick and whatnot. But I think what she's actually getting at is if you're a live-in provider, you're always going to be doing the work. So how can you say that how can you be sick, right?
Yeah, that's a tricky part, because I know last year, I think, actually usually around June and July every year, we get a lot of questions about sick time, because there's a thing that gets floated around where you lose your sick pay for the year if you don't claim it by July 26th or whatever.
Yeah.
And so
let's be very clear. Do not claim work hours and sick time at the same time. That's probably fraud. I'm not 100% sure, but like you can't say that you're sick and also doing the work at the same time, right? So don't do that. When they send around that, people always get confused because they send around the thing and it says you need to use your hours by this date or you're going to lose them. And so people think, well, I'm not sick, so I need to just use all my sick hours. That's not what they mean. They mean if you don't get sick, your time doesn't carry over into the next year.
I think the way, and again, forgive me, Laura, I don't know for sure, but to my understanding, how some people have used their sick pay for their child is they will claim the sick pay while having another provider come in and maybe claim the hours you couldn't. So I don't, that way you're not double dipping. The recipient is still getting their hours catered to, but you're not missing out on your workload financially, right? To my understanding, that's how it works, but I could be wrong. So if anybody here has used sick pay appropriately, let us know the process that you're familiar with, because I know it is a little different for live-in parent providers or live-in providers in general. Sorry.
In general, that is the correct way to use sick pay. Is you take the day off because you're not well, you still get paid your hours because you have that sick time built up, and then a backup provider, a secondary provider comes in, does the work that usually you would be doing. It's just when you're a live-in provider, even if you're sick, you're still there. So if you're the mother, it's like you're not really going to take a day off.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's one of the good things if you could have multiple. If both parents or a sibling or an aunt or an uncle, grandparent can also be a provider and can share that time and can come in as sort of like a special case for when you're not feeling well. That's probably the best way to go about it.
Agreed. And Laura, again, you said how many signatures do we need? So as many as we can for that petition. Again, the petition is not necessarily going to change anything, but it can help influence and get the voices out, right? To show that we're not pleased with the proposal, and it's going to do more harm than good for people who are actually in this community, like yourself, Laura, like myself, like Dakota. Okay, we got a long question here.
I can read this one if you want.
Go for it.
All right. Oh, I think part of it got cut off. Do you want to? Can we pull it up on Facebook? I'll read what we have, and then maybe you can pull up the rest of it. Hi, glad I caught y'all. I have an off-topic question. That's fine. Today's Q&A. I just had a newborn who's currently in the NICU, diagnosed with Hertzsprung disease. Once
Hertzsprung?
discharged. Oh, you're right. I read that wrong. Once discharged, we will need to do rectal irrigation every 6 to 8 hours every single day until the surgery in a few months. I believe we'll need to continue with irrigation after surgery as well to make sure no infections happen. My question is, do you think it would be worth to apply for IHS paramedical hours for him? This is probably the only, and that's where I lose the rest of the comment. But I don't know if you have the rest
I
of it.
think I don't. But I think we can get the gist of what she's asking. Dakota, should Liv apply for IHSS?
I mean, that sounds like quite a lot of paramedical hours to me, is what I'll say. Now,
I agree.
let me think about the qualifications for getting IHSS. So one, you have to have Medi-Cal. So for a newborn, I mean, the process, you have to do it real quick. The diagnosis needs to be expected to last at least 12 months. I'm not familiar with that particular disease, but I'm guessing that's a lifelong thing. I could be wrong. If it's not a lifelong thing, if it's not expected to last more than 12 months, then they probably won't get IHSS for that particular specific thing. But as long as those two things are there, you have the Medi-Cal and it's diagnosed that'll last for more than 12 months, then that sounds like a pretty significant amount of paramedical hours to me.
I agree. That's exactly where I was going with that. I think that it is worth pursuing IHSS if you can get Medi-Cal, right? If your little one has Medi-Cal, because you will at the very least get because that is considered a paramedical. It's invasive, it's intrusive, and it's medical in nature, right? Yes, I would go for it if you have access to Medi-Cal, Liv. Jessica says, thank you, Dakota, for the update. I agree. Thank you. That's great stuff. Good news. Thank you, Estella. Laura says, LA County, I think we have $20 approved. It just spreads out over a few years. $20 approved. What are you referring to, Laura?
That's either related to pay raises or her previous question about sick pay.
Yeah. I think it's, yeah, because LA County, I think, is $20 an hour flat right now, I think. All right, we have Christina here. Christina, we're in the process of obtaining conservatorship for my son who just turned 18. Is he eligible to have SSI, IHSS, and Medi-Cal benefits?
I mean, that of course it'll depend on if he meets the criteria for that. But like a person who is conserved can have all of those things, you know, as long as their income, assets, and disability meet the individual criteria for each of those programs, right? Like, I mean, SSI is probably the easiest one to talk about because if he meets the criteria for SSI, he can get SSI Medi-Cal. And if he gets SSI Medi-Cal, then you can apply for IHSS. So if he meets criteria for SSI, he can probably get the rest of them no problem.
Yeah, it's so when you say Medi-Cal benefits, like Dakota was saying, there's a lot there to break up because you have like food stamps, CalFresh, and other things as well. But if you're specifically talking about Medi-Cal like coverage, you need that to get IHSS. So that's not going to go away. And then yes, SSI is just disability income that person can have. And if they get their Medi-Cal through their SSI disability, then you're getting it all at the same time. So I think you're good there. Laura said, so if you claim all your hours and have 2 free days, can you use those 2 days for sick pay is what I think she's referring to.
Right.
Technically, no.
I'm not sure.
Not just willy-nilly.
I think the answer is no. If you're saying like you did all of the work, like all of the hours that the recipient's been approved, and then get sick on your days off, can you claim the hours? No, you wouldn't be able to do that.
Yeah. Allie says you can take sick pay as a live-in for going to your own doctor's appointments. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay, you know what? That actually is a good point. So I'm wondering if maybe you can claim a part of your day as sick leave, right? Because if you have a doctor's appointment and it takes you 3 hours.
But again, it has to be. It would need to be. I mean, logically, it would need to be during the time when you usually would be working for your recipient.
That makes
right?
sense. That makes
Like
sense.
if you go to have a doctor's appointment while your recipient's at school, then you're not losing time that you would be providing the services. Like if you go to the doctor's appointment while your recipient's at school and they come home and you still do all of their hours and you claim the full hours for the whole day and for the whole week, but then also add on the sick time, that wouldn't work. Yeah.
Yep. And then Jeanette says, yes, that's good to know. So for sick as parents, we can have another provider help. We can, how do we call it in? Well, I think you can report it to your social worker. If you have a provider available, have them ready and then call them. Hey, I'm feeling sick today. Can you come by? But to my understanding, I don't think you have to necessarily report it, because I think you can claim your sick hours on your timesheet portal. I think it has the ability for you to do that. Maybe we should do we should look into this a little bit more, Dakota, and maybe do like actually a topic on sick pay, because I think that'd be a good one. What do you think?
That might be. Yeah, actually, it could be we could look into some of the legal details of that stuff. Yeah.
Stay tuned, Jeanette, and all of you who are curious about sick pay. I think we might put together a little something for you guys so that we can be for sure on all of the details there, like Dakota said. Liv, also a follow-up question: would he be medically eligible for SSI? So, Liv, you're the one with the newborn, I believe, and so you'd have to reach out to SSI. So SSI is for the permanently disabled, somebody who has a disability that they are born with, or I believe were diagnosed with prior to the age of 26, I think. Oh my gosh, I could be totally butchering the rules there. But it is for those who have some type of disability that's going to impact their ability long-term for economic self-sufficiency and capacity for independent living. So they can sometimes determine that when you're young. And so, yes, I would reach out to SSI and apply, or at least consult with them, or confer with them rather, inquire, and see if that particular condition, that diagnosis, would make them eligible for SSI. Now, if they say yes, then the next determining factor there is your income. So for you to get SSI for a minor, they will base the eligibility on your income in addition to the diagnosis. So if you have a diagnosis that does allow for SSI approval, the next step is for them to look at your income. If they say, oh, you're above the income threshold, then you won't be able to claim SSI right now. So that's just something to consider.
Mm-hmm.
Teresa, we are emailing and getting the petition before lawmakers. Nice.
Just explaining what the purpose of it is. That's why, more signatures, the better, because we want people to know that there is support for not taking away hours from needy people on IHSS.
Teresa, I will most certainly do that, but I'm not sure what you're referring to. We need to change the words in front of your faces.
I don't know. Whatever we had at the time must have not been relevant to what we were talking about. I have no idea.
Okay.
Well, now your words are in front of our faces, so I hope that I don't know. I hope something.
Yeah, I think she meant, Teresa, did you mean the pinned comment, the comment that we pinned on the screen? If so, I apologize. We'll try and stay on point. We do our best. Jessica, you make it sound so easy. Is there any protection for a client so they don't have an interruption in his services or life? Will the budget and spending plan stay the same? I'm thinking of this kind of information, but we will just call y'all. Hugs. Thanks. We are not moving without a plan and accountability understanding. Yes, I mean, of course, calling regional center, following protocols and procedures that we present, tips and tricks for IHSS assessments, saying certain things to the school district, right? Try and get services. All of these things are much easier said than done, right? So yes, I understand that, Jessica. However, if you do know certain protocols, certain formulas to put these things into action, it does make things a little bit more, it does give a little bit more peace of mind, but some of these things are totally out of your control, right? If you can't get a hold of your regional center at all, then that is something we can help with. You can call our office. We do have a regional center department where Vinaya can maybe shake some trees for you. So that's our job. We are advocates to help kind of obtain and help you secure that goal, whatever it is. And so if you want to call our office, Jessica, I think you already work with us, but you're always more than welcome to call our office and ask if we can assist with any of these things that we're talking about today. All right, Claudia, how long does it take to get approved for protective supervision for my 5-year-old? Dakota, what's like an average timeline if you are brand new to IHSS and you want to get IHSS and maybe protective supervision? What's a good general timeline you'd like to give families who are just starting out?
Well, for a 5-year-old, I'd say anywhere from 4 months to infinity to get protective supervision. No, to be serious. From the time of application, it'll be, let's say, 2 to 3 months before the assessment. I would say, as long as you're getting documents in on time and everything's moving normally. This can absolutely depend on the county. As we know, some counties longer than others, but I'd say 2 to 3 months to get the assessment. Once the assessment is done, as long as they have all the documents they need and they've requested regarding protective supervision, you should get a notice with their decision within, I would say, 3 to 6 weeks after the assessment. So all that together, anywhere between 3 to 5 months, maybe 6, I would say, to get the notice of action. Now, that may not approve protective supervision. You may have to go to a hearing. If you have to go to a hearing, that's going to increase your time by another 4 or 5 months, because that process can take quite a long time. Again, depending on your county, LA is really slow. Other ones, San Bernardino, can sometimes be really slow, but we've had ones. We had one in Tulare the other day that applied for a hearing, got scheduled within like 1 month. The other counties would take 5. So it depends, but yeah, like if you have to go to a hearing and the whole process and all of it together, 8 to 12 months, possibly. Would you say that's about right?
We used to say 6 to 9 if there's an appeal, but I would agree with you. I think it's different now. Now, I will say this. I did just get off the phone with somebody who called in asking for some help. They went to an appeal on their own.
Mm-hmm.
They were not represented by anybody, and they went in front of the judge. They got their appeal decision 3 days after the hearing. There was no stipulation.
Weird ones like that.
Yeah, there was no stipulation. There was no withdrawal. There was nothing. It was just a flat out judge's decision with a full on written report.
Was it a denial of protective supervision?
It was.
So, because me and you know that from the day of the hearing to getting a decision, what's normal is 30 to 60 days. So for it to happen in 3 or 4, how, right? How did they come up with that decision so quick?
How can a social worker need 3 months, but this judge was able to make a determination in 3 days?
I mean, it's one thing. I've seen jurisdiction-based arguments where it's just, well, the basic facts of the thing, you were too late in requesting your hearing, therefore it's denied. I've seen those come out within a week, within a few days. But about protective supervision, making a whole argument on the what the claimant said and what the county said and what the evidence says, and making a whole thing, and that's extremely fast.
Yes, I would agree.
Yeah.
All right, Estella. Thank you, Claudia, for the great question. Estella, yes, please. A separate live regarding sick pay rules. I believe they expire 6/30 and renew 7/1. Yeah, so we'll look into that. Absolutely, Estella, because I'm definitely curious myself. Jessica, coming back at it to school us. It's a separate timesheet. You fill it out. This is as long as you're not going over the 24 hours, you should be fine. That's what my accountant. Oh, that's what my accountant. We did all 40 at once a while back. Okay, interesting. Well, thank you, Jessica, for your knowledge and experience. We're going to try and get some information to see if you were correct or wrong by doing that. Just kidding. Thanks for being here, Jessica. You're always fun. Jeanette, I'm back, and I noticed that I got kicked out myself of the chat. Oh,
oops.
Sorry. Well, welcome back. Welcome back.
Welcome back. Yeah.
Bernice, hello. Do you have any updates on the budget cuts? I heard the assembly members were meeting this morning. We don't have anything as updated as today, but Dakota, do you want to go back just a little bit and share some of the updates you shared a few minutes ago?
Yes. So I'll just briefly reiterate. If you want to hear the more of it, you can go back a little earlier in the live. But I had read the Senate revised budget proposal, and the big takeaways were that they did not want to cap provider hours. Medi-Cal, the asset limit, they wanted to put it 130,000 instead of 2,000, and they were going to go ahead with the freeze on new enrollment for undocumented and those with unsatisfactory immigration status, but they do not want to remove anyone from these programs. They would just do the freeze. That's sort of the very brief thing. That's just their counter proposal. It's not been decided yet. I think the next step, and the Assembly might be doing their same thing of also voting in agreement to those proposals. I'll have to look into that. But I believe the next step is it goes back to the governor, and he has to make his final decision on if he's going to approve it or veto it. And if I recall from what I read, if he does veto it, they either have to redo it again and present it to him again until he approves, or if a 2/3 vote within the Senate and the Assembly, I believe if they are all in agreement, then they can overturn his veto. So I don't really know if that's likely to happen or whatever, but I think that's sort of where it's at right now. Is it's going to the governor for him to make a decision.
Cool. Thank you, Dakota. Claudia again, and what paperwork would you recommend to give to my social worker separate from the SOC 821 regarding the protect supervision? Well, you can provide what the social worker is requesting. So if they usually they'll request an IEP, they'll request IPP from regional center, basically any type of documents that are going to share data that appropriately reflects the child and their behaviors. So our behaviors, limitations, kind of all of that, right? So you can get creative. We, of course, here at Galt Advocacy, when we work with the family, we have kind of a formula and a series of documents that are in-house that we share with our families. But for yourself, IEPs, behavioral reports, your BIP, your BIP with school if you have one, IPP with regional center, a statement from the doctor, a statement from your respite worker. These are all different examples of things you can provide that are like less bias. Estella, it took us 5 days, but it varies for everyone. Very, very quick as well.
Yeah.
Why can't they just move faster, Dakota?
Well, I think they just don't have enough people, really.
Yeah, you're right. Wish it was different. Jeanette, glad you're here. Barians, thank you very much. Yourself. Excuse me. Mara, do you think the IHSS cuts are going to happen? Well, in a sense, they are, but that is what the proposal is. So I think Dakota shared some thoughts that because there's a lot of, I'd say, friction here of what's right, what should be approved, what shouldn't be approved. We're hopeful that they will make adjustments that more appropriately cater to maybe what the families here in California want and deserve versus what the state wants to do to spend less. We're hoping that outweighs that, but
I'll say, I mean, I think my answer a few minutes ago might have already answered the question, but I think to the really big one of the provider hours cut, which I think is what most people were concerned about. Right now, I don't think that one's going to go through. I think that above almost any other one is probably what the legislature has gotten the most feedback about, and the most people saying this is actually disastrous and going to affect so many more people in ways that the Department of Finance, their summary does not at all show the real effect this will have on people. So I think they've heard that loud and clear. So I think that one is most likely going to stay as not being put in place.
We're crossing our fingers, everybody. That's what we're hoping and praying for, right? I think we have one more question and then we'll wrap up today. Isabel, how are the initial provider hours determined? How are the initial provider hours determined? Well, they're determined by the recipient's approval. And so when you apply for a recipient, like your child or a loved one, they are assessed by a social worker, and then that social worker will determine how many hours per month they are approved for. Now, if you're asking about like your notification you receive, where it says like, here's your weekly notification maximums, that is, again, going to be determined based on the amount that the recipient is approved for, along with your workable hours. So if you gave a schedule that does not allow you to claim certain amounts, then that may vary. So like, for example, that can happen if you are a out-of-home provider, because mom and dad for the child can't be the provider for some reason. You as the out-of-home provider can only claim that person's hours when they're not home. So it can get kind of weird like that. So if you, Isabel, are just a standard parent provider, or you live with this person, there's not too many other people who can help out, then the provider hours are determined based on that recipient's approval of hours, if that makes sense.
And if you work for multiple recipients, it will be a combination of those hours up to the provider cap of 283.
Yep, good point. Sherry, are they currently freezing applications for Protect supervision? No, not that we're aware of.
I'm pretty sure that's not a thing they could do ever.
Yeah. Bobby Lynn, I just came in. Which one do you think won't go through? Well, Dakota did share the thoughts of the 50-hour cap. We're hoping that is shut down because it does not seem to be very popular.
Well, the Senate has said they do not want to have that one. So in their counter proposal, they removed that one from the budget solutions. So it's just a matter of if the governor allows that. But I think that one specifically is not going to go through. So
yeah, Dakota, we're just about out of time, and I think we got to all of your questions. Everybody,
so. It was great.
You're awesome. Thank you so much for all your comments and questions. We did see some shares, some likes, some love. So thank you for that. We really appreciate. Thank you for those who are on Facebook and those who joined on to YouTube. But I think we're going to go ahead and sign off for today. Dakota, is there anything else you wanted to uncover before we wrap up?
Yeah, I just want to ask, did anyone else notice what was going on with Caleb and his mug and his camera today? Because I saw it before we got started, and I just loved it. Watch this. You see that? That it becomes nighttime instantly when he drinks water. It's magical, really. Anyway, I just had to point that out, just so I wasn't the only one who knew this was going on. You made me laugh earlier when you did that. Anyway, that's all I wanted to point out. But yeah, thank you for being here. It's always fun doing these Q&As with you guys and with you, Caleb, of course.
I think Sherry and Jeanette share in your laughter. I was very confused by it. It took me a lot longer than it should have to figure out what Dakota was laughing at earlier. But yes, thank you everybody so much. Estella, thank you for all your questions and comments like you do every single week. But I think that's it from us, guys. So thank you so much for tuning in and sticking around with us this Friday. I hope you all have a wonderful day. If you speak Spanish, don't forget to tune into our Spanish page with Nicole, where she will be doing a Q&A in Spanish. So if you have family, friends, or support groups that you follow who are where it's Spanish focused, get on with Nicole at 1 o'clock. So for now, there's about a 5-minute break for you. We'll go ahead and jump off. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you, Dakota, for joining me like you always do. I hope everybody has a wonderful Friday and enjoys their weekend.
See you next time.
Goodbye.